this part of the tutorial, we will be adding a keybinds menu that allows the player to customize his keybinds. As you can see, we will learn how to customize the movement keys and the action keys. The action keys are the keys that are bound to the action bar down here. So if I would like to change the first action bar down here, or the action button down here, to another keybind, I would open up the keybinds menu and then select action 1 and then click another button. So now the first action here is bound to button 4. I would like it to be button 1, so I can click it again and select button 1. And now the action buttons are bound to 1, 2, and 3, which makes sense. As you can see, we have no spells on the action buttons right now, so I would not be able to attack the skeleton by pressing my keys at the moment. So besides the keybinds menu, we will also be adding a spellbook. And the spellbook will allow us to take the spells that are available to the player at the moment and place them on these action buttons down here. And we do that just by clicking one of the spells and then dragging it onto any of the action buttons and then placing it there. And you can customize this as much as you want. You can put Thunderbolt on all of them if you want to, or anything else. Or you can put one of each spell on them if that's what you want. So now when these are put on the action buttons, I'm able to select the skeleton here and attack him with one of my spells. So this is what we are going to do in this part of the series. I will release them one by one on YouTube, but if you are a patron, you can actually go to the Patreon page right now and view all the videos for creating the keybinds menu and for creating the spellbook. So let's get started on the keybinds menu. So before we start, we need some sprites. So if you're using my sprites, you will have to go and re-download the asset folder so that you can get these sprites for the menu. If you're not using my sprites, you can simply go and create a sprite for the menu background and a sprite for the buttons. So when you have downloaded the asset folder, you will have to take the UI elements and put them into your UI folder in your project. So we have a menu background, menu buttons, and these two title stats and tooltip is something we are going to use later. So for now, we need the menu buttons and the menu background. So we will have to create a new game object for controlling our menu. So if we go to the canvas here and expand it, we can right click on the canvas and create empty, and then rename the new game object to menus. Because we're going to have more menus, we will have a keybind menu, we will have our options menu and all those other things. So this is just going to keep track of our menus. Besides that, you will have to right click on menu and select UI and select an image. This is simply going to be our keybind menu, so you can rename the new image to keybinds. So with that done, we will have to set the keybinds source image, and that should be the menu background. So take the menu background and drag it onto the source image and then set native size. And as you can see, it gets way too large. But the reason that I set the native size is to get the right proportions. And then you can select the tool to the far right and hold down shift and then scale it down and pull it inside the screen here. So if you hold down shift, it will keep its normal proportions when you scale it up and down. And then you can move it around so that it centers, and you can see that it's centered when the blue lines are aligning in here, as you can see in the middle here. So the circle of this menu background should actually be in the center of these anchors here. Now you can see we have the menu centered. You can make it exactly the size that you want. I just think like this size is okay for me, but maybe you want it larger or smaller, that's up to you. So we need to be able to hide this menu at some point. So basically you can select the keybinds menu, click add component and select a canvas group. So we need this canvas group because we need to hide this, and at some point we can change the alpha from 1 to 0 like this, and this will make the menu hide. But for now, just keep it at 1. But keep in mind, we have this canvas group so that we can hide our menu at some point. So the first thing I would like to add to the menu is the title, and the title is going to be written up here in the area that is square up here. So we can right click on keybinds, select UI and select a text. This is going to be our title, so you might as well just click on it and rename it to title. With that done, we will have to place it. So select the tool to the far right and move it all the way to the top here, and then expand it so it takes up almost all the space in the top area here, up here. With that done, we will have to change the text, So right now I'm using this Arial font. I'm going to use the other font that I've imported in the game in this project, and then I am going to select center here and also center here, so it's centered on the square. Then I'm going to take the value here, or the color, and change to white, and you can put whatever color you want. I just like white and gray. And then I'm going to write Keybinds. So besides that, it's way too small. Let's try 35 or something. Yeah, I think that's okay. And besides that, if you would like it to look a little different, you can click on Add Component and write Shadow and add a shadow to it. So now when we maximize and play, we have Keybinds written on top of the menu, and I think that looks pretty good. You can also add outline if you want to, like go and add and write outline. But I don't think I want that on mine. See here how it looks. Or actually, it looks pretty good though. So yeah, I'm just gonna leave it. You can also select the outline and change the color so that it gets totally solid, like so. So yeah. But yeah, that's how we can create the title of the menu. Next, we have to define the area for all the buttons and all the text. And we can do that by going to the menus and the keybind, and then we can right click, say UI, and add an image. And basically this is not going to have an image on it, so just right click on the image and remove it. And then the square here, that which is the image, is going to define where our buttons can be. So you need to like square in the area where all your buttons and stuff is going to be. The thing is that there's going to be a lot of buttons, so you have to make it larger than the actual menu, and then we're just going to hide what's down here, and then when we scroll up, it's going to be shown up here. Okay, so you simply need to define the area where all the buttons can be. So I'm going to start with an area that looks like this. I'm just going to make sure that the edges here doesn't go over the menu, so I'm going to keep it a little away from the edges of the actual visual menu so that the buttons and text can't go all the way to the edge. So this is the distance I want between the text and the edge of the menu. I'm going to rename this image to area, and then I am going to add some buttons and stuff to it. So basically, first of all, we can right click on it and add some text. This text is going to be called, let's go title movement. So basically we can just set this up. So select the movement here, and you can write movement, and then we will have to change the text if that's what you want, and we have to set the size. I'm going to go with 20, and then we will center this like so. And I think I am happy with the rest of the settings. So the next thing we have to do is to right click on it and duplicate it, and rename this to title actions, and then write actions like so. So right now you can see they're not placed correctly, but we have to use the area to place it correctly. So if you select the area here and click add component, and then we can add a vertical layout group. So this layout group is going to make sure that these two are placed correctly. So basically we can select upper center to center these two texts, and then we can set spacing. Well, we can't really set the spacing yet because we don't have the button, so we don't know how much space we need in between. So we're going to wait with that. Another thing I would like to do is to select the title movement and title action, and I would like to change the color to white, because I think it looks better on the gray background. So now we have the titles placed correctly. The next thing we're going to do is to add some other things, like text in here and buttons. So for the buttons, we can go to the buttons, menu buttons sprite here, and I can make it into multiple sprite and edit it. And then I'm going to slice them automatically and click apply, so that I have all these buttons down here. So now we have the buttons, and we can start adding stuff here to the menu. So basically I'm going to add one, and then I'm going to duplicate it, and then change the functionality later. So on the title movement, we will have to right click on it again, select UI and text, And this text is going to be writing up like so, without space. And then I'm going to rename this text to up. So now this is the up text. And we will have to place this correctly also with a layout group as we did before. So select the title movement and add component and set a vertical layout group again. And then we will have to set it up so that all the text is placed down here. So I am going to say that it's going to start in upper left, that's fine. And then we need to add some spacing, 10.50, let's be okay. Then you can open up the padding, and these are numbers I tested, so you can always adjust them as you want. So left was 77 and the right was 0, top was 37 and bottom was 0 and spacing 10.5 still. Okay, so now you can see up is written right here. We'll also need to change something on that text. So if we select the up text, then we'll have to set the right font. We will have to set the size to 18 and we will have to change the color to white. And then I used instead of normal, I used italic for these. When you've done that, you can select your title movement and you can take the box here and stretch it so it takes up all the horizontal space from left to right. So these lines are aligned with the actual lines of the area that's in. So up will be moved a little to the left. Okay, so now we have movement and up here. The next thing we have to do is to add the actual button. So on up, you will have to right click and select UI and add a button like so. On this button we will have to change the image, so select the image and right menu, and the menu buttons are going to pop up. I'm just going to take the light one right there and I'm going to set native size, and then I'll open it up and take the text, and I'm just going to hide it right now so we can't see it. So with that done, select the button, select up right here and add a horizontal layout group so, and on that layout group we will have to make some settings. The left padding is 110 and the spacing is going to be 10.78 so. And when you've done that, you can select the button and hold shift down and make it a little smaller so that it fits and with a size that you would like. And then you select up, then you can make up a little larger so. And then you can select, when you have selected up, you can see the text here. You can actually align it in the center so it's in front of the button here. So now basically you can just adjust the button size so it fits anything you would like, and then basically take up and make sure that the size of the height of this box when you select up is going to have the same height as the actual button here. So what I did before was to add a shadow, so I selected up the text here, add component and shadow, so it has some shadow on it. And I actually did the same for the movement. So the title movement, I'm going to add component and shadow, and title, let's see here, actions, add component and shadow. Go. So now we have up. So if you select up here, you can right click and duplicate and duplicate and duplicate. So you have 4 buttons. Then you can rename the one below to left, and the one here to down, and the bottom one to right. And of course remember to open them up and also change the text, of course, so that it fits with the name of the actual parent. Oh, down and right. There. So now we have our buttons there. So we need to do the same thing for our title actions, and you can add component and add a vertical layout group like so. and then just go to title movement, right click on the layout group, copy component, go to title actions, right click on the layout group and paste component values. So now it has the same values as the movement. What you can do now is that you can minimize these. You can duplicate right, for example, and move it under our actions here. So it's a child of actions instead. So you'll notice that it doesn't have the same placement. That's because of the size of actions. So basically, if you select title movement, you'll see the width is 374.76. Just copy that and go to title actions and paste it in there. So it has the same width. So your title actions has the same width as your title movement. And now you can see it actually has, the right position. Then next thing we need to do is to rename this to, I don't know, what do they call it? Action 1, I guess. So let's give it a name here. Let's say this is Action 1. Action 1. The others are caps, so just do like this. And also here. So Action 1. And you can just duplicate this a couple of times. We only have 3 action buttons at the moment. If you add more action buttons, of course you will have to add more bindings here in the menu. So this is Action 2. And the bottom one here is Action 3. Just gonna keep the same notation there. So now we have Action 1, 2, 3 right here. But as you can see, this doesn't look good because we can see our actions outside the menu, and if we maximize this, you'll see that we can also see that there's a button hovering down here. And we don't want that. We want to hide everything down here so we can only see what's inside the actual menu. So we can do that by using a mask. So to create a mask, we have to create the graphics first. So go to Assets, Create, and find Sprite, and find a square. So this square here is going to be our mask, so just call it menu mask. This is the square. You have to add a new image to your menu, so minimize everything here and right click on your keybind menu, select UI and select an image. And this image here is going to have the same size as the area that you want to show. So just make it the same size as the area of the menu you want to show here. So basically I'm going to make sure it doesn't go over the edges in top, bottom, left and right. So this is where I want to show my things, everything in the menu. This image here is going to be our mask, so just click on it and rename it to mask. When you've done that, you can take the area here and put them as a child object of the mask. And then you click on the mask and click add component and write mask. And then you select a mask here. And as you see right away when I selected that, everything down here disappeared. You can see if I enable the mask, disable the mask, you will see these things down here outside the mask. And if you enable the mask, then everything that is a child object of the mask will be invisible outside the mask. Another thing here, you can see it's white now. I don't want that. So basically you can click show mask graphic so that you can't see the mask, but still everything below the menu is invisible. So now we are masking everything here, so we can only see stuff inside the menu. So right now we can't see anything down here, which is a problem because we will need to be able to scroll up and down so we can see the actions. So what do we want to do? We want to add a scroll bar first of all. So basically right click on Keybinds, select UI and find a scroll bar and select that. And then we'll have to navigation and set it to a vertical navigation. Then we will have to set the direction, where is it? There. And set it to bottom to top. So the scroll bar goes like that. And then you can take the scroll bar and move it all the way out here to the left and expand it so that it takes up a little more space, like so. And of course you can adjust this with the size exactly as you want. Just gonna keep it like that for now. And then you can set the colors, and what I did was to select the normal color, for example, and then take the little pick tool here, and then just select a color that you think you would like it to be. So just click around on the menu so that it gets the right color. You can also select the color here, select the picker tool and do like that. And of course you can take this hex color and copy it and paste it in all the other below here, so that you get the same color for everything. Go. Or maybe you want it the other way around. That's up to you what colors you want. I think I'm gonna stick with these colors for now, but you can just play around with it. The next thing we have to do is to use the scroll bar, and we do that by selecting the mask, and then you click add component, and then you write scroll rect. You find the scroll rect and add it. The first thing you do is to select the content that this scroll rect should control, and that's basically the area. So you take the area and drag it onto the content area. I don't want to be able to scroll horizontal, so I remove that. The movement type should be set to clamped. Vertical should be kept as it is. And then we need to tell it what vertical scroll bar it's going to use. Well, we have a scroll bar out here. Just going to drag that onto there, like so. And the visibility is permanent. So when you have set this up, you should be able to play the game and use the scroll bar to scroll up and down in your menu, as you can see. So you can see maybe you're not happy with the fact that the buttons here are disappearing before the edge here, so you can always go in and adjust these things. So if you select the mask and show the graphics, you can always go in and try to adjust this so it goes like right to the edge, and the same goes for the top right. Maybe you don't want it to disappear before it hits this, and then we can hide the mask graphics again. So now you can see the bottom disappears right when you hit this edge, and the top disappears below this. This looks a little bad actually, because it disappears around this edge. So basically, if you would want a perfect mask, you would have to take this exact shape here of the menu with this edge here and use that as a mask. Then it would disappear behind this one instead. But I am going to leave it as it is. If you want to, you can always play around with the sprites and edit them so you can create your own mask so it looks more perfect. But that's it for this video. In the next video, we will be using this menu actually to create some keybinds so that we can change the way we interact with the player in the game. Thanks for watching my video. Please remember that InScope Studios is a community founded page, so please consider clicking the support link on the screen to see how you can support me and get something back in return.